look like you're taller than you like you would.
Just, yeah, like if I put any pressure on the back, just fall back.
So keep spraying it. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Committee Member Branconi.
Present.
Committee Member Brennan is not here. Committee Member Newman.
Present.
Committee Member Wyrick.
Present.
Youth Member Mansfield.
Present.
Chair Lobsinger.
Present.
Let the record show that Committee Member Brennan and Coster and Domeno are not in attendance. Thank you.
All right, first item is the approval of the agenda. Does the committee have any changes to the agenda for tonight? Doesn't look like it. Is there any public comment regarding the agenda for tonight? Seeing none, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
I second that.
Vice Chair Branconi.
Aye.
Youth Member Mansfield.
Aye.
Committee Member Newman.
Aye.
Committee Member Wyrick.
Aye.
Chair Lobsinger.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
All right. We'll move on to public comment. At this time, members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on tonight's agenda. It's recommended that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Under state law, matters presented under this item cannot be discussed or acted upon by the Traffic Safety Committee at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public will be invited to make comments at the time the item comes up for committee consideration. Upon being acknowledged by the chair, please step to the podium and speak into the microphone. Begin by stating and spelling your name. Is there any public comment for anything that's not appearing on tonight's agenda?
My name is Loretta Carr. I live at 705 3rd Street West, on the corner of 3rd Street West and Perkins Street, exactly where you propose the roundabout. I would have been at last month's meeting, but I was out of town attending a family funeral. I've lived in that location for over 30 years, so I'm very familiar with the traffic conditions. I would welcome less traffic, slower traffic, proposed speed bumps at appropriate intervals would be fine. Painting bike lanes would be fine. But putting an obstruction in the middle of the intersection poses more hazards. There are medical offices adjacent to that intersection. Patients park on the street. The majority of the patients are elderly who may not be able to navigate the roundabout. Besides the parked cars, every day I see the transit buses on both sides of 3rd Street, large postal service trucks, large FedEx delivery trucks, shopping center delivery trucks. They come either on 3rd and turn on Perkins, come on Perkins. How are they going to navigate an obstruction in the middle of that intersection besides the parked traffic? A roundabout will take away space in the street and all of those vehicles will not fit. I predict vehicle accidents with the possibility of vehicles being propelled into residents' properties. If that happens, you will hear from me again. Your action on this project without direct notification to those residents and businesses most affected on 3rd Street West shows a lack of regard. It reminds me of the self-centered decision of one city council member to ignore the wishes of Sonoma residents to keep Broadway as it was, 2 lanes north, 2 lanes south. Instead, he chose 1 lane each direction to make way for bicycle lanes that are rarely used. Remember that Broadway is also Highway 12. I have spoken to a California Highway Patrol officer who said in his opinion, for safety purposes, bicycles should not be allowed on any highway. Then I notice on page 2 of last month's your agenda, it states 3rd Street West runs parallel to 5th Street West and Broadway with major traffic. So by providing this key connection, that is redirecting the bicycle traffic to 3rd Street West, residents will have the option to access the historic Sonoma Plaza, West Napa Street, Sonoma Bike Path without utilizing these main thoroughfares. Well, then why were lanes on Broadway changed to accommodate non-existent bicycle traffic? So which is it? Change Broadway against residents' voted choice, but now change 3rd Street West so bicyclists can avoid Broadway. This contradictory decision-making does not inspire confidence. Finally, I object to over $1,800,000 being spent on this project, with $277,000 from the city, when there are so many other needs. an obstruction in the middle of 3rd Street West and Perkins Street intersection is not needed, and it is in fact dangerous given the traffic usage and adjacent residences. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comments for anything not appearing on the agenda tonight? I will move on to the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the committee, staff, or public request specific items be removed for separate action. Are there any questions from the committee about the consent calendar? Any public comment on the consent calendar? I don't see any, and so then I will look for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
I second that.
Vice Chair Branconi,
Aye.
Youth Member Mansfield,
Aye.
Committee Member Newman,
Aye.
Committee Member Wyrick,
Aye.
and Chair Lobsinger.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
All right, moving along to the regular calendar. Discussion on the current status of traffic hazards reports received by the Public Works Department, the procedure for reporting the concerns and metrics utilized for evaluating them. And I will turn over to Ashley or Director Berger.
Thank you, Chair Lobsinger. So today we are going to go over, customarily we're going to review the traffic hazard reporting forms that we've received since the last Traffic Safety Committee meeting. Between the last Traffic Safety Committee and this meeting and this Traffic Safety Committee meeting, we did change the format of our traffic hazard reporting form, making it online to make it more accessible. And we did that right around the same time when school is back in session. So, you know, because of the timing with all that, we had kind of an uptick in traffic hazard reporting forms received. So we've received 21 since the last Traffic Safety Committee meeting. And we are going to go through and review them. Most are signed by only one person. We do have a spreadsheet that was included with the agenda packet that I'll pan over to here. And this kind of gives an overview of the description of the traffic hazard reporting form, the number of signers that were included with the petition, and notes that we've included both from our city traffic engineer, and Matt Orgula is here today too, and can answer any questions that come up, as well as just notes from Public Works. So noting, like, for example, some of them are on Caltrans right of way, which we've talked about before, and that, you know, it is Caltrans right of way, and that the city can't work with Caltrans, but from an expediency perspective, it's not, those solutions are not something that we're going to be able to do as quickly as, say, the RRFB installation at 3rd Street West. So we have that, and then also just noting that the police department is now included on all of the traffic hazard reporting forms that are coming in, so they are aware of all of the complaints that are specifically regarding speeding and stuff like that. So that every traffic hazard reporting form comes in, goes to our public information officer, Public Works, and PD. So, do we want to go through these one by one or group them?
Because we have so many of these tonight, I want to just give an option to the Traffic Safety Committee that some of these that are directly related to speeding or placement of a sign or something like that along those concerns, what the committee could do is they could table that, put it on a list. Public Works has been in conversation with the police department on all these that warranted reaching out to the police department. Unfortunately, the chief couldn't be here tonight, but we're communicating with him and we're going to work collaboratively towards a solution. And what I would like to give the Traffic Safety Committee an option to do is, because of the number that we have received, if we wanted to designate some to go to a future meeting between the police department and Public Works, I'm totally fine with that. Because quite a few of these are either police or fire, or Caltrans, etc. And some of them fit into Public Works workload, and we got no problem taking those to a little bit more of a discussion. But just to cut down on some of the volume tonight, if some of these we want to table and put them on a separate list to be followed up with at a meeting between police and fire, police and Public Works, at which point we could later come back and report back to the Traffic Safety Committee next month about how it was handled. So next quarter. So that's just basically something in your queue that you could consider.
Yeah, I mean, that works for me, and obviously we have a big turnout. As long as everybody who is here is able to speak on, or you know, say your part, I'm okay with condensing it down to table those items, and as long as everybody gets a chance to, you know, because everybody could be here for maybe just one of these, so we don't need to go through one at a time. So just let's go with that for, I would say let's go with that plan, Mike. Let's table those, and then we'll go through the ones that we're not going to table with the police and fire, and hope that it gets everybody involved.
Yeah, and we can still address them one by one and also get some feedback from the audience to see if anybody's here. We definitely want to hear from people that came here tonight to talk about any one of these. And so 1 through 21, we could start at the beginning and the dates they were received. And if there's nobody here and the committee wants to table it, we could do that, put it on the list of something for Public Works and Police to discuss, and then basically see if if anybody's here, we could hear from them. If not, we just move on to the next one.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm seeing kind of some nods. Yeah, let's go. Let's do that. Let's see how it works out.
Okie doke. So then we'll start with our first one, which was received August 11th, the intersection of MacArthur and Broadway during high traffic volumes, requesting a no right turn on red. This is probably something we work out with police because they noted that the intersection could be kind of dangerous. It's also a Caltrans signal. As you guys know, the city doesn't actually own any signals. They're all Caltrans. So is there anyone here for that traffic hazard reporting form? No. Oh, okay, never mind. I'm going to turn it back to the chair for you to ask that question. Sorry.
I was kind of okay with it. No, you actually answered my only question. So, is there any questions from the committee on that one? Any public comment on this particular one? So I'll just keep moving. So if not seeing anything, let's just move on to the next one.
And are we going to designate that to go on the list for Public Works to work with police and then follow up with Caltrans?
Yeah. I
Okay.
think, yeah.
And we'll just differentiate that, and then there won't be any further discussion after that.
Okay.
Thank you. Next one, Broadway and Andrea's delivery trucks in the left turn on Broadway on specific days. The request is to make truck deliveries on the from the west side of Broadway. The committee has any questions regarding that one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm reading this correctly. Where are the delivery trucks blocking?
No need to go for it.
I believe it's in front of Dutch Brothers, and
The,
so it's
the center, they're using the
the center. And
Oh,
I
I
think
see.
that it's
Okay.
causing visibility issues.
Gotcha.
Ashley's pulling up the.
Okay.
Then that, in my mind, would
there it
be
is.
a law enforcement thing as
Yeah.
well, right? So if we need to
Yeah.
just educate those delivery drivers, then just work with law enforcement on that.
Yeah. So, is there anything from the committee? Any public comment on this issue? Seeing none, I think I'll go with what send this one to the police. Perfect. All right.
Perfect. And then the third one, this is concerning the Emily's Meadow Court development on Fifth Street West. There's concern with lack of visibility on Fifth Street West due to parked cars. And the request is to paint red curb on the south side of the intersection for increased visibility. This one has provided a list of 21 residents that live in this area. And the engineer's recommendation is to tip the driveway with red curb up to 8 feet.
Go ahead.
Just the 8 feet, their request was obviously, I think it was like 15 to 20 reading that one through. Is 8 feet kind of the standard around driveways as far as the traffic engineering is concerned?
8 feet's like a compromise between, the preserving on-street parking and providing for enough sight distance for somebody to pull out and see oncoming traffic.
Okay. I think that we can definitely start there, and at least we're doing, something in the right direction for them, and we can kind of see if they need to, if they want to come back, if there's concern beyond that, but I think that's a good compromise.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. My only question would be, my only question for this one, because it's speaking specifically about Emily's Meadow Court. There's also, is it Troy Lane, and there's another one. Brownstone. Yeah, they seem to be similar. So I would just actually add on to it that if you're going to do 8 foot of red on either side of Emily's Meadow, my suggestion would be do the same thing with the other 2 streets that pop out right there. But otherwise, I think, I'm okay with it. Anything else from the committee? No? Okay, is there any public comment regarding painting of the curb on either side red on Emily's Meadow Court? No public comment on that. Do we need a formal motion for that one, or this is red painting? I think we can just okay. All right.
Yeah, and Chair Lobsinger, just as a FYI, when we take a look at that, on some of these complexes where you have driveways going in, we'll consult fire, because fire is always concerned about access and entry. And we'll also be looking at that. We have some similar situations around town where the red curb may get extended, and we'll look into that
Okay.
and work with fire on that.
Great. All right. Next item.
Alrighty, moving on. So the fourth one, there's a complaint on West Main Street from 1st Street to 2nd Street West. The complaint was for a high rate of speed on weekdays between 4 to 5 p.m. And the request was to install noise cameras.
This strikes me as a one to save for police and. Okay. Any questions or comments from the committee? Any public comment regarding West Spain from 1st to 2nd Street West? Not see.
I live very close to that, so I'm trying
Could you come up to the mic,
Yeah.
because we can't hear you?
What is it that you're?
And could I get your name?
My name's Brenna Hansen. I live just up First Street from Spain Street.
Thank you.
But what are you trying, is this about the speed between First Street West and 2nd Street West, or?
Yes, this specific item says that there's a concern about the speed on weekdays between 4 and 5 p.m. on West Spain between 1st West and 2nd West.
Oh, because it's, to me, what I've observed, it's the whole of Spain Street all the way to Highway 12. And then, but people are really picking up speed a lot between 5th Street West and 1st Street towards the plaza. And it's like if I walk near there, it really feels different than it did, say, 10 years ago. Like the pace, and there's an urgency that everybody's taking that side street. So I don't know if it's just between 2nd Street and 1st at 4 o'clock. But there's also the challenge is everybody knows this, the crosswalks at 1st Street on Spain, and then I had people, they've just decided to go anyways when I was walking today. So anyhow, I'm not sure that, I was just trying to get clarity of the
Yeah,
history.
this is just one specific area, but I know Spain Street in general is, I think Spain Street in general, where there's an overall plan from the plaza to 5th Street, 7th Street, basically to Highway 12. But so the larger, this specific issue is just about speeding. This is from one person. I don't know who it was, but all of Spain Street from basically the plaza to Highway 12 is,
It's an issue.
we
Yes.
recognize it's an issue, and there are plans to,
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the
yeah,
time.
of course. And yeah, this would be one of the ones we would turn over to police for traffic enforcement.
So I think we have 4 currently for Public Works and PD to work out. So we'll move on to the next one, number 5 on East MacArthur and 2nd Street East. This traffic hazard reporting form was submitted by someone who was hit by a car while riding a bike due to the driver not stopping, and the request is for a blinking stop sign. And then just to add, we have received traffic safety reviewed a previous traffic hazard reporting form for this intersection at the last quarterly meeting. We went through and trimmed the branches back to make that stop sign more visible. And that, I think, was the action requested by traffic safety at that time on that particular one. So just background on that.
Did we ever validate if I think it was a bike route sign or some sort of a trail sign was possibly obscuring the visibility of that stop sign as well?
Yeah, I went out there and looked, and the oleanders for the westbound at that intersection, that was what was obscuring the view as far as I could tell. And we had the oleanders trimmed back significantly, not only in front of the sign, but also above. And so the sign's much more well lit right now. And then one of the other things that we're looking into is putting red tape on that pole. I don't think that the sign visibility is an issue anymore, but I got to check with the engineer and make sure that that's something valid that we can do. I've seen that around in other instances where there's a little bit of decreased visibility because of light. There's a huge oak tree right there, and its canopy provides a lot of shade to that stop sign. But I think that there's increased visibility to the sign based on all the work that we did on the oleanders.
Awesome, thanks. And then I think we had kind of discussed it at the last meeting where this topic came up. With that tree preventing the sunlight from getting there, it would probably inhibit the ability to put one of the blinking signs in because it needs that solar panel, which is affixed to the top of it. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I agree with that because it's going to have a solar panel fixed right to the top. And I think that the visibility of it has increased quite significantly already, and that we're going to continue to look into making it more visible without the blinking red lights.
Mark, the sign that you're referring to was at Nathanson Creek Park sign, and that was moved and attached to the stop sign pole. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Is there any public comment regarding the stop sign visibility at East MacArthur and 2nd East? Please come on up. Yeah.
My name is Sarai Obermeyer. It's spelled S like Sarah, A-R-A-I. Last name Obermeyer, O-B is in Boston, E-R-M-E-Y-E-R. And I'm the one who filled out that form, and I was the one who was hit by a car while riding a bicycle at that intersection. So first, I want to thank you all for your service on this commission. I really appreciate it. And I'm actually pleased to learn that you've acted. And so I did not know that. And I went back to the intersection, and indeed, I found that the tree had been trimmed. And so it is more visible now. So it is better. And I appreciate that you're being very thoughtful and considering multiple ways to address this problem, including the shade of the big oak tree, as well as putting some kind of red tape to make it more visible. But I do find that the stop sign is now more visible. So I am just pleased to hear what has been done, and I want to thank you again for your service.
Thank you. Okay, no more public comment on that one, it looks like, so we can move on to the next one. Number 6. Oh, well, that's right. Was there anything else from the committee on this one?
I think based upon the public comment and the changes already made, we could probably just close this one out unless we receive anything additional on it.
Yeah.
And we'll give you an update on that if we do any further action.
Awesome.
And then just so you, the committee knows, Cathy just brought up a really great point. The original requester of the previous traffic hazard reporting form resubmitted, and so they weren't able to be here tonight, so we were gonna move it to the February one, but we might just reach out to them if traffic safety is okay with that, let them know about the improvements, and see if they still wanna move forward, so just kind of bringing that up.
Mm-hmm. That sounds good.
Well,
I'm just curious, is there a way to continue to maintain the, like, all, that area so that it doesn't happen again? I mean, how do we, or how do we keep that on our radar, you know what I mean?
We just have to keep an eye on it.
Okay,
Yeah, it's private oleanders,
yeah,
and the homeowner totally was working with us to do the big trim job that they did. They hadn't done it in a while. And so I'm thinking every year or two, we just have to go out there and take another
Okay.
look. Yeah, and
Thank you.
we could facilitate that.
Hey, Mike, can I ask a question about that? What's the process? You just send them a letter, the homeowner, if it's private and has to be cut for environmental purposes?
I knocked on the door.
The old-fashioned way. With your chainsaw. Okay. Well, okay, I think we're ready to move on to the item number 6.
This one was requesting an overcross or underpass across Highway 12 at where the bike path ends at Highway 12 over to the connecting, no, I don't want to say connecting path, but over to the other path next to the restaurant there, next, that's in between, between Molcajete Days and the tennis court. I did reach out to the person that requested this and just let them know that overpasses were very expensive, and pointed out to the 101 overpass that Renner Park is working on, as well as the Hearn Avenue overcrossing in Santa Rosa. From a cost perspective, that's a decades long capital improvement project. If it is found feasible, those types of things need to have feasibility studies done before. So just kind of let them know ahead of time that this would, in the event this project would get, this would definitely be one where it would need to get added to the capital improvement program, and that's probably more of a 20-year planning cycle for that particular project.
Is there anything from the committee on this one?
Just real quick, this did come up in a previous traffic hazard reporting form, maybe, I don't know, somewhere in the range of a year ago. We had discussed seeing about extending that pedestrian railing that's kind of over by the Auto Tech and Tire, where that bike path comes out. Was there any progress there, and is there any benefit or ability for us to chat with Caltrans regarding putting some kind of a barrier to kind of discourage folks from crossing there?
Yeah, that has been discussed, and Caltrans is doing an intersection upgrade for that intersection. We can get an update on that. Modifications and upgrades, changes that are being done as part of the project to the area from where the bike path enters the Highway 12 area behind the railing there to Verano Avenue, to see how well Caltrans is planning on upgrading that, what sort of upgrades they're planning on doing, and we could report back to the committee. One of the things that, I'm always hesitant about extending a rail, because then people are going to go 20 feet more and just cross around it there. And so I think that the rail pretty much makes the case. And what we could look into is increased signage. And I want to open up the discussion with Caltrans again. I haven't talked to them about this project in about 6 months, and find out what's their big picture is. I know that they're planning on closing Lameda and putting a guardrail in there, which is going to make it a lot safer for people to get, well, not a lot safer, but it's going to make it safer for people to get from where the path enters to Verano, because they won't have to cross any street at all. And we'll talk to Caltrans. There's been work contemplated about the ADA over Lamita and how that could be better. But now if Lamita's closing, it's not as it's not as big of a deal. But we'll open up dialogue again with Caltrans on that project, see where it is, and get back to the Traffic Safety Committee with a, update at the next meeting in 3 months.
Great, thank you.
That's perfect, thank you. Anything else on the committee on that one? Is there any public comment regarding the bike path at Highway 12? Not seeing it. Oh,
I have a question about, how does one get to communicate with Caltrans, say about the pacing of lights?
is that? I don't
Would-
know.
Is that, I can bring it up another time, but that intersection I noticed is a real long light sometimes. There's some pacing issues I'd like to know how we would find a way to communicate with them.
I don't know how to get in touch with.
Are you referring to 12 in Verano?
Partly, yes.
Okay. That current setup that is going right now was something that was kind of like their phase one of that overall project that they're doing there. And a lot of when the pacing is not as much as we'd like to see for vehicles, a lot of that has to do with the pedestrian traffic, because
Understood.
it's a all stop with vehicle traffic when the pedestrians are given the walk signal. So that could be part of that as
Does
well.
that affect the whole pacing then, I guess? Must, okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
All right. I think we can move on to the next item.
The next item was a complaint about Fifth Street West and West MacArthur, between Fifth Street West and West MacArthur, with a lot of reckless drivers reported. I can go to that if you want some more detail on that.
I mean,
I did have, when I read this, I did have one thought, and I can't remember, is there a speed indicator sign there where we hit the city limits at Harrington or anywhere in that area? I don't remember seeing one, but
Like a standard speed sign, or like one of the flashing speed.
yeah,
feedback
one of
signs?
the speed feedback
No.
devices. Okay. That was one thing. I know we've talked a little bit about this intersection, but it was one thing that kind of came to mind because, you know, even myself driving that, I find myself, you know, when you're transitioning from, if you're coming into town, you're doing, you know, 55 down Leveroni and then 45 on 5th, and it goes down to that residential, you know, pretty quickly. And I think maybe a little speed feedback in there might not be a bad thing, just because it is kind of one of those transitions. I know we just put the flashing stop signs in there, you know, 6 months ago or so, but you know, that is something I was just kind of thinking about when I was reading through this.
is there any public comment regarding Fifth West and West MacArthur?
Hi, yeah, it's Paul Wensley, Wensley. I'm not sure this is my item, but it's very, very similar, if not. We were concerned about the speed on West 5th, right? So we live on Sanchez, right at West 5th. And the cars, I think, like the comment said, is people come, they kind of treat it like an off-ramp and an on-ramp to the county roads. So there is, you know, I've actually bought a radar gun and clocked people coming up 5th. And when people come up 5th into town, they're going anywhere from like 38 to 42 miles an hour coming into town. And when they're up to 52 miles an hour, I've clocked them. And then going out of town, pretty similar, right? They're accelerating from MacArthur, and they're accelerating because there is no traffic calming device going out of town. So they pretty much just floor it going out of town, right? There's no pedestrian. So the people that walk on 5th have no way to cross the road, and the traffic is going pretty quick, and they're kind of accelerating very quickly there. So it's pretty dangerous. We've seen deer killed, raccoons killed, squirrels killed all on that road because people are just kind of accelerating kind of mindlessly. Including last night, there was speeding car, screeching brakes, crash, lots of police on that stretch of road, right? So it's very dangerous in that stretch of road. And the kids walk to school there. So our request was to bring that traffic speed down to 25, just like it is up by the school, to bring it to 25 all the way to the city limit. And as people mentioned, the blinking speed indicator to try to calm the traffic down in that section of the road, because people don't realize, they're just thinking they're just leaving town or entering town at that point, right? There's nothing to calm the traffic. I'd love to have a traffic circle, but that's a lot more expensive. But some form of traffic calming device in that stretch of road would be fantastic. Yeah. So I don't know if that's ours. I think maybe we were also like number 21, but it's kind of exactly the same topic.
I don't believe that one is yours.
Okay, so yeah, Paul. Yeah, so
It's gonna
when we
come
get to
up,
there,
I think,
it's
yeah.
basically the same comment about the reckless driving. Yeah, we see people running the traffic light at 5th and MacArthur all the time. And late at night, you can hear the cars going 60 or 70 miles an hour down the road, right? They're really rocketing out of town late at night. So, thanks.
Yeah, the only other thing, just listening to the comments that I was kind of thinking about when, he mentioned Sanchez, is we have over the years added a fair amount of housing to that area, whether that be the Brownstone, Troy, Emily's Meadow, but also the new, the corner there of MacArthur and 5th. We added some housing and things. So we're going to see an increase in both vehicles entering and exiting the roadway there, as well as pedestrian traffic likely. So maybe it's worth giving it some thought as far as some speed changes and whatnot, because the other one off of West MacArthur, I think it's Hayes, and that neighborhood, we have had some recent development there where before it was just open fields on the east side of the roadway there, where now we've put a fair amount of housing in. So might be worth giving it some thought, whether it be speed or speed feedback.
Yeah, I would agree with someone who drives that road twice a day. I'm not opposed to reducing the speed limit once you get to Harrington, essentially, because we essentially have housing on both sides, and a speed feedback sign I think would be a great idea. The other one that I could think of would just be just as people come into town, would we consider doing those speed dots, the ones that kind of tell you that you're entering town? The dots in the road that
Yeah, the bots dots.
Bots dots, but
Would
rumble. Thank you.
would it make sense to do a speed survey?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. We just wrapped up the speed survey on Spain Street. It's our pre-construction. The construction for Spain Street project is ongoing. The contractor started today, and they'll be continuing that for 3-4 weeks. We're going to do a speed survey on that when we're done. And we could also do a speed survey in this area of Leveron or on 5th Street in between, and I'll consult with the traffic engineer on this, but it's going to be in between MacArthur and Leveroni Road. Yeah, for both eastbound and westbound. And yeah, that's a great suggestion. We can get that done. And that's really going to tell us the story. The only problem with bot dots or the strips is that people don't want those in front of their house. And we've already had a traffic hazard reporting form tonight about noise. And they are noisier, but that doesn't mean we wouldn't be open to trying it. It's just, I don't think too many people are going to want it in front of their house. So we'll take a speed survey. That's the first step. And then just start looking at different ways in our traffic calming handbook
Yeah.
to address the problem and bring something back to the committee.
Alright, sounds good. Alright,
Okay. Moving on. Our eighth traffic hazard reporting form was specifically regarding Malay Street, noting excessive speeds and requesting speed bumps. Our note, to add that for a possible speed survey.
anything from the committee on this one?
No, I agree with collecting some
Yeah.
data first.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of signatures on that, but I would like to have a little bit more data to support further action.
Yeah, I would agree. Just collect more data and then compare it to the handbook that we have and see what happens. Is there any public comment regarding this? The speed on Malay Street? Not seeing any. I think we can move on to the next.
Okay, our next one is for East Napa between 5th Street East and 6th Street East. Cars swerving around the speed humps resulting in oncoming cars. The request was for orange traffic pylons on the space between the humps.
We had originally discussed this as a potential option. When we originally talked about installing them, and we were gonna see how it went. I would like to see if the traffic engineer has an opinion on that.
Yeah, one of the items though, prior to letting Matt take the wheel, is that area that we're cordoning off is gonna be where fire drives to avoid the speed bumps, which is why they're offset. Yeah, so I don't know that we can really consider putting up some sort of semi-permanent barricade in there, because that's where fire ducks in and out to go around that. And I've confirmed with the chief of police and operations, fire doesn't take the ambulances or the engines over those speed bumps. They do chicane. So I don't know that we can really cut that off.
Yeah, I think we had discussed maybe like a bots dots or something, but I don't know that that's gonna have an effect on whether people do that or not. I mean, obviously I've seen it firsthand quite a few times that folks are going around it. And then I think, Mike, we had discussed, I was curious when they were installed, why it was installed that it wasn't in the leading lane that the speed tables were installed at, because in my mind it kind of cues people in when they see it in their lane early, and it kind of prompts them that they can go around the one in their lane, as opposed to if they were set up with the opposite, where you hit it before you saw the other one, if there was any design behind that.
I think when we installed these, we were also cognizant we were kind of retrofitting in with the bike facilities. So we're trying to fit them in with driveway spacing. There's a few driveways out there, and to find the spacing like it was, I think that's really what dictated the placement. I do think maybe the non-reflective pavement markers like we have at the intersection of 5th East, to provide a little tactile response between the speed humps might be an option that we could look into. Yeah, as far as reinforcing staying in your lane.
Okay. Is there any public comment regarding the speed humps on East Napa Street? And seeing none, throw it back to the committee. Anything else from the committee? I guess we'll just go.
The only other thing is maybe we could kick, not the installation of anything, but kick maybe like a traffic enforcement request over to Chief Cutting for this, see if we can get somebody over there and, you know, make a couple stops, write a couple tickets, something like that, and maybe might discourage folks a little.
Yeah, and I think the bot stats might help just reinforce what's obvious out there, that it's a double yellow. And everybody that drives in California knows you're not supposed to go over those. But we can, I think we can maybe add, the bot stats that we put in at the intersection deterred people from taking that left turn real fast from westbound Napa Street onto Fifth Street. So maybe it'll have a good effect on this also, and we'll give it a try.
Sounds good. And then I think we can move on to number 10.
This is a complaint for the intersection at First Street West and West Napa Street, crossing by Bank of America to Plaza, and the cars don't stop. It didn't have a specific request.
Anything from the committee on this one?
I think it's a PD, just notify.
This is the only one, right? We haven't had anything recent.
I mean, well, I guess, no. Never mind. I had a question, then I answered it myself. Is there any public comment regarding this one, crossing next to Bank of America? Not seeing any. I think this is something we could just advise PD on.
I have a question about that.
The turning right thing, that seems to be what happens. A lot of times people will turn left there when they're not supposed to, and it's a right turn only. Maybe that could be repainted to be more clear for people to stop and do the right thing and not turn left to Broadway when they're supposed to turn right and go around.
Yeah,
Is
we
that-
actually have that on the
It's on the
agenda,
agenda.
number 12.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. We can move on to number 11.
This one was for Fifth Street West between West Spain and Verano, noting excessive speeding, the request for a stop sign and speed bumps.
Okay. My name is Ann Jones.
Oh, wait,
and-
ma'am, can you just hold on 1 second? Because we go to the committee first and then we'll
Okay,
go to
I'm so
public
sorry.
comment. No, you're okay. You can stay up there.
Okay.
I was just going to see if the committee has anything on this for right now. I think I have a question, but you know what? I'll wait. Okay. There you go. Public
Sorry.
comment. No, you're okay.
Anyway, my name's Ann Jones, and I live on Fifth Street West. Between Spain Street and where Fifth Street West curves onto Verano, they're going south. There are no speed limit signs at all. Nothing. The only speed limit sign is up by Spain Street. It's coming north. I'm sorry, did I say the wrong? But there's only one speed limit sign in one direction. And the really weird thing is that this is where the bike path crosses, right in the middle of this section of street. It's impossible to see people coming. I'm sorry, excuse me. So the bike path is coming across right about in the middle of that stretch of road. That's like just a freeway. There's no reason people have to slow down there. There's no stop signs. There's a crosswalk, but nobody really pays any attention to that. But that's where the people come on bikes and they're walking on the bike path. Right in the middle of it, you can't see them. And they don't realize it, and they pop out onto the street, and I see it all the time. People come, either ignore them or come screeching to a halt. And so that entire stretch of street, there's absolutely no reason for anyone to slow down, and people just tear down that street. So at least there should be a speed limit sign. But I think that there would be really nice to have some kind of flashing thing or something where the bike path is. And that would be right about in the middle of that stretch of street, and it would slow people down. So they have to at least pay attention to see if someone's going to come popping out. And there's a tree blocking, there's I think it's a sign that shows a person, but there's a tree blocking it. So that stretch of street has really been ignored, and there's just nothing to slow the traffic down there. The only thing is when you get to the end, you have a stop, and then when you turn off Verano, you have four stop signs, but nothing on 5th Street West. So I sure hope that something can be done about that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Is there any other public comment regarding 5th Street West? Just, Director Berger, we recently did some improvements to that. Can you just kind of refresh our memories on that one, and maybe we can add a few things to it?
We did just install new crosswalks at Montini, the crossing of,
That's right.
and we did that. Those did include yield signs, and I believe also a pedestrian crossing sign there. We didn't install speed limit signs or any kind of like amplified pedestrian crossing safety measure like a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, but we did transfer those from more informal crosswalks because a crosswalk exists between two ADA ramps regardless of whether or not it's marked. So we did mark that out and added yield signs as well as some additional signage, and that is at Montini. I think that's right across from Fano.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also, there is a directional speed limit sign or a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign just north of Spain Street to start that whole stretch. So about a half a block up across from the old GD's, there is a 25-mile-an-hour speed sign. But the speed limit that's implied. Residential streets and streets like that do not have to be signed, and then basically it defaults to the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. And that's why you don't see speed limit signs on residential streets all through town. It defaults to that. But we are also planning, as part of the Go Sonoma project, to put in the RRFB crossing and upgrade the crossing on the bike trail. So that'll help also. And then we're also in the process of ordering a speed feedback sign for this stretch. And along with Spain Street. And then we're also going to be upgrading the two at Sasserini School. Yeah.
Do you know, just curious, do you know timing of completion for that? Just, I know.
Go Sonoma.
Huh? Yeah.
Go
well,
Sonoma's-
just with that specific.
Next summer will be Go Sonoma.
Okay.
Yeah. Right, Ashley? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Anything else from the committee on this one? Yeah, I mean, I know, yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, and just another update. We've done a speed survey in there. I did not bring the results with me tonight, but we have done a speed survey in there. We will be doing another prior to installing any changes to that stretch. We'll be doing another speed survey, and then we'll do it before the changes go in and after the changes go in.
Okay.
And I can summarize all those as soon as the changes have been implemented, which, like I said, was going to be part of the Go Sonoma project.
Okay.
The only thought I had on it is that although it's implied 25, since it's a relatively low cost item and there's, probably some other poles and things that exist there that could be utilized, maybe putting a couple of signs in along the stretch couldn't hurt. Because I think with that area where it goes to that open space where Montini's at, there may be, is some room for interpretation as to how residential, that stretch is. So with it just being like kind of a low cost item in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it could be a harmful thing to put up some signs.
All right. Thank you. Sounds like we got some stuff in the works for this one, so just keep us posted on this, and We can move on to the next item. Where are we?
Number 12. Okay. So this is First Street West and West Napa Street. Drivers not obeying the right turn only. And the request is signage and police presence.
So this is one that's already had some work done. Although it's been some time, I think Mike might be able to speak a little more to it, but the kind of the delineators that are there to try and encourage folks not to turn left or go straight. But I don't know what, from your perspective or the traffic engineer's perspective, is there much else? I mean, I think a lot of it is probably an enforcement issue.
One of the things that we could do is we could put in a right turn only sign. I believe I started working on this a while back and got sidetracked. So let me look into that. I think I sent it over to the traffic engineer, and it's possible we could put it in that little triangular area where it's right in front of you, even though it's indicated already. It would be right in front of you, making it real hard to say you didn't see it.
Yeah, I think a sign right there would do really well. My question is, who ultimately has control of that intersection? Is it us or is it Caltrans? And the reason I ask is because that's the only intersection on the four corners of the plaza that's not a four-way stop.
Well, the flow direction on Highway 12 would be Caltrans.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it would probably be, if we did any sort of modification to the stop control, we do it in conjunction with them because it's 50% ours, 50% theirs. Two city streets going into the state highway. Yeah, so from an enforcement standpoint, it's 100% ours. Highway patrol won't be writing tickets out there. It'll be the police department. So it would be 50-50 with Caltrans.
Yeah, I mean, this is me just thinking out loud because I wouldn't mind. I know as a committee we're kind of, we can't just throw stop signs up everywhere, but I feel like that one part might be a spot to think about, but we would have to consult with Caltrans. And I'm not saying it's going to be the end all be all, but it's a very busy pedestrian area. I walk it literally every morning, and I know exactly what they're saying. So maybe that's a conversation worth having with Caltrans.
Yeah, and another thing too, we've got some new technology that we're working with on our painted bulb outs that got presented as part of the Spain Street project and 3rd Street bikeway. And realistically, what we got to do is we got to put those down. It's going to happen within the next month on Spain Street. And then we'll be working with GHD on the design for the 3rd Street Bike Boulevard and refine our approach to putting those in. I wouldn't rule out, the mid-block extensions that we have at the plaza, those were really well received and they're working great as far as I'm concerned. And coming up with something that doesn't just involve the painted white line and the white bollards, as much as what we're contemplating doing and about to take on 3rd Street and Spain Street. So I think that, a good approach to that would be to go ahead and put them in on Spain Street, see how they work, see how they're accepted, and both cars and bikes and peds, and then come up with some sort of concept potentially. And this would be more likely for all four corners of the plaza, similar to the way that we did the mid-block crossings, and then partner with Caltrans on one of the corners and use that model for all the other three. So there's an option.
Yeah, I'm definitely. That sounds great. And like I said, I'm definitely not saying let's just throw a stop sign there. But if there's something else, I'm definitely, I think we'd be open to suggestion because I think that intersection could use a little better control.
Yeah, and I think that just the fact that those intersections are so wide, and this includes right in front of the city hall at the palm tree there in front of the roundabout, those intersections are so wide. There's a lot of square footage for drivers to be looking at. And on top of that, you got 2 or 3 vehicle movements that you're trying to be focused on. And pedestrians can really be almost out of your vision there when they're first putting their foot down onto the street and leaving the handicap ramp. So basically, that's something that, we could look at. And like I said, let's focus on getting Spain Street done in the next month here, and then we can expand from there.
Sounds good to me. Do we do public comment on this one already? Is there a public comment on this intersection? Seeing none, I think we can move on to the next item.
Okey-doke. Number 13. We're getting there. This one is for East Spain from 1st Street East to 4th Street East. Speeding, requesting speed bump signage and a speed indicator sign.
East Spain from first to anything from the committee on this one? Yeah.
Aside from Second, there's no crosswalks in there, is there?
I don't even know if there's
East of-
crosswalks at
I guess
is there?
Second doesn't have it either. No, it's just a 4-way.
You're talking about from Spain, heading,
Yeah, from the
West.
plaza to 4th.
or heading east.
Well, either way, just as far as crosswalk on Spain.
There's a crosswalk, on Spain and 4th, on the south side of Spain. But it's just that section. There isn't one going where the stop sign is.
Yeah, and just going from the plaza, I'm looking at it on Google Earth right now. You have four crosswalks and we're talking about from the plaza on First heading west. First west. Is that right? Or are we talking about First East?
This is
First East.
Spain between 1st East and 4th East. So
Okay,
between
so-
Sebastiani and
The mission.
the Mission,
I-
yeah.
Yeah, and so basically you have a crosswalk at the corner, 4 crosswalks at the corner of First East and Spain, and we're just heading away from Spain Street. Then you have a 3-way stop with handicap ramps at each corner at 2nd Street East. And then you have no crosswalks at Las Casitas Court and no crosswalks at Mall Court. And then a crosswalk at 4th Street East. Yeah. Crossing Spain Street.
Personally, I think this is something to maybe have a conversation with Cutting about regarding speed.
Yeah, I think the speeding would definitely be an enforcement issue, and I hate to keep handing over things to the police. Might also be a candidate for the traffic calming, the handbook, to see if there's anything out inside the handbook that we're not thinking of or that we could possibly put there that could ease the speeding.
I know Chief Cutting did reach out to this gentleman and said that he was going to try and get some more patrols and stuff like that. When it came in, there was some back and forth that I saw.
Yeah, and additionally, what we can do, we could look into putting a fog stripe here, similar to what we're doing at Spain Street on the other side of the plaza, on the west side. And that's something that we can consider looking into.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, I wouldn't necessarily feel bad about, we're pushing all this off onto PD. Public Works is constantly working with PD on these things and sitting down with them and problem solving with them. So this is part of the process, and it's just really to get a little bit more focused on things that we can make progress on tonight
Yeah,
versus taking on a bunch of things at PD's court.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Gosh, Marty, did we do public comment yet? I don't think we did. Is there public comment regarding East Spain Street between First and Fourth East? Not seeing anything back from the committee. Okay, I think we can move on to number 14. Is that where we are? Yeah.
This one is on Lobo Valley Road between 4th Street East and 7th Street East. This is a complaint regarding speeding, requesting signage to lower the speed limit. And then just a note on our end, this area was submitted for Sonoma County, SCTCA, Sonoma County Transit and Climate Authority Cycle 2 funding for a planning project for Bike Boulevard here. That would also include traffic calming. We don't know when we're going to, it's a 5-year grant cycle, so we're probably not going to hear back this year, but we'll find out what projects will get selected as kind of a group funding, so they'll apply to these different funding opportunities on behalf of the city of Sonoma with our applications for opportunities that they feel are a good fit, and so we'll find out how we did. In a couple, probably, as these funding opportunities come out in a couple of years, but just to highlight that we did apply for grant funding for this particular area.
Okay. Anything from the committee on this one?
Yeah, just for clarification, the city limits ends just past Wilking, kind of where that current speed bump exists. So we kind of have a small area that we can influence, or is the county, are we able to work with the county if we wanted to collaborate on something?
Just speaking from the grant project, it did include multi-jurisdictional collaboration. So any projects that are outside the city's jurisdiction that the city has some interest in, we could participate in. So we did highlight that in the grant application that we would be willing to work with Sonoma County on that to make sure that the whole Bike Boulevard would get addressed. But with regard to this particular traffic hazard reporting form, yes, our jurisdiction is not that entire area.
Could a simple sign be put up, just as opposed to waiting for the whole big project to be done? Because they're just asking for a sign. If I'm reading it correct. If I'm reading it correct. Signage on.
Isn't there a speed limit sign right there, right just past Wilking? I'm trying
Yeah,
to think.
there is.
Yeah, right by the speed bump.
Okay, so there's a sign there.
I know there's at least one.
It's posted 30 miles per hour.
Okay.
And that's after you get into the county.
So they're asking to lower that number.
No, that would be the county speed limit on county jurisdictional road.
Right.
Yeah, so that's something that we could forward on to the county.
Okay, so
Yeah, looking at the actual reporting form here, it does request a lowering of the speed limit, which would be in the county area.
But there are speed bumps, from my recollection, right over by Wilking, right? Yes.
Like kind of by the Sebastiani picnic tables.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of, let's see, we don't really have this situation in the city limits because typically when you're driving out of town, you stay in town until you get to a stop sign. And then when you turn, the speed limit might change. It might change before then, like on West Spain, before you get to the highway, it goes up to 30. However, on this one, this is county jurisdiction. There's a speed bump. And then on the other side of that, the county ups the speed to 30 miles an hour, like they do a lot of the time. Yeah. So I'm not really sure that we want to start getting involved in how fast cars are going now on county property. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if we could just forward this on to the county, let them take a look at it. Looking at the next two items, can we?
Did you ask for public
Oh,
comment?
did I ask for public comment? I'm sorry. Is there public comment on the Lovell Valley Road between 4th and 7th East? No, it's okay. No, not seeing any. I think we can move on to the next item. I'm gonna ask Ashley. The next 15, item 15 and 16 look. I know there's separate requests, but they look very similar. Can we roll those into one, or should we do one at a time? What do you think?
One I think is specific to the intersection for West Napa and 7th Street West, and the other is concerning speeding on 7th Street West. I think more specifically there, because it addresses the senior living community there. So I'd recommend keeping them as separate.
All right, let's keep them separate. So let's move on to item 15, which is
Yes, so this is traffic hazard reporting form for West Napa and 7th Street West, where senior living are. There's a lot of speeding. The request is for signage on 7th Street West. And then I didn't mean to put this in the notes, but we actually have a traffic hazard reporting form that's been open for the last couple of years that we were addressing at our ad hoc committee meeting. And so the results of that ad hoc, just so you guys have all the information, is that's going to be elevated for some additional traffic engineering to see if we could possibly put some speed bumps in that area. So we haven't reconvened the ad hoc meeting, but that was one of the older traffic hazard reporting forms that we're going to keep open for some additional engineering to implement our neighborhood traffic calming measures handbook.
okay.
Thank you.
Anything from the committee about this one? And then I will move over to public comment regarding, what's that? Is there public comment on item 15, West Napa Street and 7th Street East requesting signage on 7th West?
Patricia Lancaster, Lancaster. Three of us are here representing Cogier. Cogier is a senior living facility 2 blocks from that intersection. And we have well over 170 people there. And then across the street from us, we're on Oregon Street, and across the street is another senior facility. And you know, seniors walk very slowly, and some people ride, I don't know what they're called, carts or something with a flag sticking up, and it's a very hazardous corner. I mean, just west of us, by Staples, there is a stoplight and there's a crosswalk, but then people get going pretty fast by the time they get to 7th Street. And of course, as everybody knows, Napa is the one street that goes all the way through Sonoma. And so I've been here from another state for 4 years, and I haven't tried to walk across Napa to go to any of the shops or to the dermatologist, who is at that very corner on the other side of the street. So we'd like you to consider something in the way of a stop light or flashing light or something at that corner. So thank you.
Building on your comment, I live in the area, Julie Goldberg, 651 Gregory Circle. So I am back in that quadrant back there, and I frequent that corner many times a day. I'm in sales, so I'm always in my car. And the things I've observed at that corner are really scary. There are a lot of pedestrians. That crosswalk that was added down by Benjamin Moore seems to me to be in an odd place, because there's really kind of nothing over there. The crosswalk at 12 makes sense because it's an intersection, but no one's really crossing over by Benjamin Moore. So What I see when I get to that corner, I'm trying to make a left to head out of town every morning. It's nearly impossible between the hours of like 7 and maybe 10, and then later in the day as well. The other thing I see is people coming off Napa, turning on 7th Street West to avoid the light at 5th, and they come down through, let's see, that's Curtin Lane then, and then they avoid that whole corner. So people get to going very fast through there. There's speed bumps that could maybe be implemented through there, or what other calming measures you have. But I do know, and I used to do it because I used to live over off MacArthur, and I used to do that very thing. The other thing I've observed is people won't want to wait to make the turn on 7th, so they'll cut through the library. And that's super dangerous because there's children, there's pedestrians, there's elderly, there's lots of people in the parking lot, which is one way. I did it myself today, I confess. And I go very slow, but it's not a good thing to do. There's 2 parking lots. There's the fitness center and the yoga, and then there's the library as well. So people are getting creative. They also cut through the car wash. And that's another area. And there's lots of pedestrians through there. There's sidewalks on both sides of the street. I see, caregivers walking with people from Cogier and other elderly people in the area, and it's kind of scary. So I think a stoplight at that corner and getting rid of the other crosswalk down by Benjamin Moore is one idea. These are just ideas I've come up with from living in the area and observing it. On Sunday, I was riding my bike, and I used that crosswalk in front of what's the name of it? The new restaurant there. But anyway, I was in the crosswalk trying to cross on my bike, and somebody had stopped for me. Everybody had stopped, and then someone went around the person who stopped for me. So, and I've seen that happen a few different times. So it's not a good corner, and I know no one wants another stoplight on Napa, but it may be necessary because that's such a backup from 5th Street by Sonoma Market all the way down. And I'm not sure if the timing on the lights has changed recently or what's happened, but I feel like it's gotten a lot worse through there, almost all day long. So anyway, that's just what I've observed living in the area for 2 years. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make one more comment? I know I've done it a lot. But about that particular intersection, I think that I agree with that about the possibility of switching that, but I feel it's the impatience within the whole community because of the timing of the lights. And I know Caltrans is in charge of all that, but ever since that timing of the lights, people are stuck at these intersections for a lot longer than they were used to, and now they're racing on all the other side streets. Maybe it's been addressed before, but it's a huge pet peeve. And I think that it's really changing the tone of our town. It's changing it to that we're a town on a highway rather than a highway coming through our town. Like there's too much emphasis on the pace all the way through, and it feels like it takes it from Santa Rosa as a priority down to Marin and San Francisco, and we're caught in the middle. And it's messing with this, and that's the urgency people are feeling because they're not able to go at a normal pace through the stoplights.
My name is Rose Byrne. I live in the senior complex across from Cogier, and there's a few of us here. And I just want to emphasize, if it's possible, that crosswalk by Benjamin Moore makes no sense. I don't know how that got okayed, but if it's possible to move it to 7th and Napa, that would make sense.
Can we get just a little more? Oh, no, go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
My name is Elaine McCrae, MCCREA, and I travel through that intersection at least once or twice a day, 365 days a week because my mom lives at Cotter. And I can tell you that it's very dangerous making a left-hand turn to get onto Highway 12, West Napa. Very dangerous. I've seen backups as many as 5 or 6 cars on that street, and people do get impatient. That making a right turn takes us way through town in order to circle around to get back to Arnold Drive. So it is a real problem. I think it does need to be addressed. I really like the idea of moving that stop sign and making a real left turn there. And also the people coming from the other side have to make a left turn onto a very dangerous intersection. And I have seen many people almost hit in that crosswalk. It's a very dangerous crosswalk. All of that needs to be really addressed. So thank you.
The crosswalk that's by Benjamin Moore, that was installed by Caltrans, correct?
Yes. So, so that as people have pointed out, that is on Highway 12. That is Caltrans jurisdiction. Caltrans is required to inform the city on what their capital projects are. However, they do not necessarily need approval. Certain projects, like the restriping of Broadway, was a little bit more involved because they completely changed like the topography of Broadway. That was brought through multiple council items. I don't believe Caltrans went through the same process to install the Hawks. And the Hawks are also require a warrant. And Matt could probably speak more to this, but they can't just put them in like an RRFB system. It requires traffic studies or certain limits that need to be triggered in order for that to be installed. I can't speak as to why 7th Street West wasn't selected for that. But just to explain that type of traffic control, it is a controlled intersection. And it does require studies it requires a warrant analysis, very similar to an actual like stoplight, for those to be installed, which Caltrans would have had to do in order to install them. Correct. It's a pedestrian crossing. So a Hawk is an elevated rectangular rapid flashing beacon, and it requires a certain level of studies to be done in order for that particular type, because it functions as a type of stop control. So in order for those things to be installed, there are studies that need to be done, and Matt can speak more to this as well.
Where did the idea come from?
Yeah, no, Ashley was just giving us a little bit of giving us a little bit of background. We can't really speak on behalf of Caltrans. Let's kind of just keep this. We can keep doing public comment. I'm all for it, but there's a lot of Caltrans questions we don't have the answers to. This is just the background, and I think everybody on this committee, we know that intersection very well. I guess. Well, first of all, I'm going to leave it. Is there more public comment regarding this, and then I'll send it back to the committee.
Can you come up to the mic, please?
Yeah, and if it's for item 16, we'll move on to item 16 as well. That's why I was looking at them and like, do we just kind of discuss them?
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm Cathy Allard. I'm the one that did the 20 signatures on the same intersection.
Well, we gotta wait. We'll close this one out, and
Okay.
then we'll move on to the next one. I guess because we're on item 15 and about to go into 16, my question would be, how much as a committee and how much as a city, how much control do we have over impacting that specific intersection of 7th and Highway 12?
We can have some. We can have
Okay.
some control over it, but ultimately, we're going to come up with a solution that involves Caltrans
Yeah.
and that they condone. But that doesn't mean we can't suggest something creative in order to address an issue. And they're usually pretty good about listening. The city could embark on doing something in their right of way, like we did on Broadway with our 4 flashing beacons. that we installed at Traintown, the high school, and 2 close to Pete's. So we could look into doing something like that on Caltrans right away and start a process where we work with them to come up with a solution to this issue. And it seems it's, it's popular that some people want a change made here. What everybody's saying tonight isn't going on deaf ears, that's for sure. Yeah.
Mike, I have a question. So say you were to take this information, because obviously we can't do anything. I mean, we can submit that information to Caltrans, but then do you mind kind of explaining the process? So I would imagine you take this, you have a meeting with them, but then they have their own agenda too. So what would timing look like for them to even address something like this?
Well, and for starters, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to finish doing the capital improvement program project on Spain Street, because that's going to give us a better understanding of putting these extended pedestrian islands in, looking at the 7th Street, Napa Street intersection. It's a big wide intersection. Doing some painted bulb outs might increase the safety. But the first thing I'm going to do is take this to the traffic engineer and work with him and come up with a draft plan that we could submit to Caltrans. Maybe send something over to Caltrans in the interim and let them know that this is coming. We have set up a meeting with them. That would be next month in Oakland, and it's the first time that we've gone down and sent basically a delegation down there to talk to them. And we can do that and bring this up. This would be one of about, I'd say, half a dozen to a dozen things that we want to talk to them about and start the conversation, to answer your question.
Thank you.
If you could explain it again to me, that crosswalk at Benjamin Moore, which everybody seems to think makes no sense.
So basically,
what was their, yeah. What was the decision to put it there? Or
I helped review that project, and those literally just appeared in the project, and I'm not sure what the nexus of that particular crosswalk was. We did have concerns at the time, but the project was in a state where it was going to move forward.
Well,
that's about all I know about it.
All right. I mean, when you're approaching Caltrans, I mean, in terms of timeliness, in terms of getting it done sooner, it's like, look at this. It's dumb. Help us out, because it really is wrong. That should have been at 7th Street. I mean, it just makes sense. So I don't see why they can't see their error and just correct it sooner than later.
They may have had the warrant studies, as Ashley mentioned, that justified something there. We don't know. I don't know that the city was provided that information. We could look into it, though.
Yeah, and to me, taking the approach of making 7th Street and Napa Street safer versus why the hot got installed where it got installed. What was the driver behind that? What sort of input was requested or received from the city? Whether or not it was ever taken out to the public, like the Broadway striping. I'd be much more focused on the intersection of 7th Street and trying to make it safer.
Absolutely. Soon.
Okay, you need to go up to the podium.
Would it make sense to get a petition of all of us to sign and hand over to Caltrans?
Just to briefly answer your question, the petition that was signed by 20 people as part of the traffic hazard reporting number 16 has been forwarded to Caltrans. So they are aware that there are a number of people that are unhappy with the intersection, so they have all that information. We didn't submit this particular one, so it's only signed by one person, so we didn't, when it's not signed by multiple people, we can't assess whether or not it's truly a neighborhood issue or if it's, maybe one person experiencing that. But they are aware that that's an issue. They have the one that's been signed by 20 people.
Well, we could get way more than 20 people to sign this petition. Would that make sense to do something like that? Thank you.
All right, with that, I think we can close out this item because we are going to move on to the next one, which is very similar. So let's wrap up item 15 and move on to 16.
This one was specific to the intersection being unsafe for pedestrians and requested a crosswalk on the west side of the intersection and a stoplight here.
So same topic.
Same, basically the same topic. The crosswalk's on the the crosswalk there is on the east side of the intersection. Okay, is there anything from the committee on this one? Okay, is there any okay, now is there any public comment regarding this one?
I'm Cathy Allard, Allard. I am in one of the business offices there, 7th and Napa. I believe, I always get this southwest stuff mixed up, but I believe I'm the southwest corner, next to State Farm, the Attorney, next to Sweet Pea. There are tons of businesses on that corner. You have our building, the building next to us, the dermatology building, the physician's building. You have across from us the yoga, the Pilates, which is very busy, and the library. Next to us, you have Sweet Pea and that whole area, and then you've got Alakai. So I've counted over 20 businesses at the whole intersection. I too am scratching my head as to why anything was in front of Benjamin Moore, Wilson. I know you want to move on, but I'd really like to know why the city wasn't involved with working more hand in hand with Caltrans. You guys, you guys are doing a great job, but somehow the collaboration and the communication needs to be more improved. I'm happy to serve as a volunteer, community person, but to help out. But it's clearly something needs to happen there. So everything's been mentioned that I've been concerned about. Cars do not stop at that intersection. I feel sorry for you guys over at Cogier because they can't even go to Sweet Pea to have a coffee. It's just horrendous. I cross the street all the time. And this morning I counted 10 cars that passed me, and I'm standing there before anybody stopped. And, it's just the cars are in a rush. Like somebody was saying, the whole atmosphere is changing. I've been here in town almost 15 years. My office has been there about 5 years. I'm a psychologist. And I've just seen a lot of change and a lot of, I can't even, when I come up to 7th to cross Napa to get to my office, there are days I can't do it, so I have to do what everyone else is here saying. I have to take a right on Napa, then I take a left near Sonoma Market to come to the back of my office. And then you get cars that really use that center lane, which I do quite a bit, and then you get cars honking at you because they think you're going to pull out right in front of them when you're going to wait. Anyway, you guys know the drill. So I want you to know, too, when I went out and got the signatures during my very spare, I had no spare time, but I'm out doing things. Everyone was very enthusiastic and wondering exactly why they had the fancy system down in front of Benjamin Moore when there was no intersection there. So I heard from one of the neighbors that apparently the Adobe Hotel had some inroad or some political connection where they had with the state, but I don't know if that rumor is true. So again, this isn't anything new. I just thank you for looking at it. It's a very big issue. Even if you can just get some lights and get an additional crosswalk. So I'm on the west side, so what I have to do is I have to cross over 7th, cross the crosswalk that's there, then cross again to get across the street to the library. So I have to cross basically 1, 2, 3 streets that 2 of the streets have no crosswalks for me to, so I'm running across the street, dealing with cars that are on 7th going towards Riverside who are turning very fast right. So I'm crossing there. And anyway, the whole thing's just a mess. So I appreciate you looking at it. I can get more signatures. I think we can all get more signatures. We can kind of coordinate our efforts if you like. I'm happy to help out. And I'm the one that did all the signs there for those of you who showed up. Thank you for showing up. I posted the signs all on the lawns for everybody. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Is there more public comment regarding this topic?
Hi, my name's Kelly Exner, EXNER. Thank you for putting the signs up at that intersection. I live just off of Curtin Lane, and I have teenagers, and what I've seen is that they're standing waiting for the cars to stop, and the cars aren't stopping. And so my concern is less about where the crosswalk is and more about visibility. So something along the lines of flashing lights for anybody that's crossing that street. And I'm not quite as concerned about where the crosswalk is, but just to ensure that the kids can get across there safer. Thank you.
Thank you.
The other thing that impacts another intersection, because when people go down Curtin Lane, that impacts Sasserini. So now there's more people at that corner where there is a crosswalk, and especially at school time during drop-off or pickup, there's more people doing that cut through that's also impacting a secondary location because this one is not safe. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. Thanks.
Hi, Jeff Busher, Blue Street, Sonoma. First of all, I support 100% the intersection. It needs to be upgraded, for sure. But I was kind of ignited with the sign down there because in the past I got petitions and did the traffic application for crosswalks on Spain Street between 5th Street and Highway 12. And there's a half mile between here and 5th Street that has 4 crosswalks, and there's no crosswalks between 5th Street and Highway 12 on Spain. And as everybody's been describing, all the traffic in the area, it's really not a lighting problem or anything like that. It's that there's just so much traffic and it shunts through Sonoma. I'm walking all the time, and I innumerable times I almost get hit in crosswalks because people are just blowing through stop signs. So it's a bigger issue. So when we talk about scope and scale of this project, as you look into that, please bear in mind that there's no way of people at that part of Spain to cross to get over to shunt down into like the library or anything. So this is the response I got. I think it's really important to hear, and I don't think anybody here was involved in this, but this to me is kind of ridiculous, right? So I still have the letter. I got so upset about it that it wasn't until I saw this sign that I kind of was reignited. But while marked crosswalks give motorists notice that pedestrians may be crossing at any intersection, there are implied unmarked crosswalks. Marked crosswalks can give pedestrians a false sense of security that vehicles will stop and yield to pedestrians. Research has shown that fewer pedestrian vehicle accidents occur at unmarked crosswalks because pedestrians have heightened awareness of vehicle traffic. There has not been a history of pedestrian accidents at this intersection, the one that I applied to. Giving the cost and the safety justification, the committee is denying your request. So even though I described children's bus stops, crossing back and forth, it was denied. But I mean, the ridiculous part is because there's no history. And so if it's predictable, it's preventable, you know. This was 2016. Yeah. No, that was city. Yeah. So anyways, I just bring it to your attention that these things, when you look at the scope and scale, there's no sidewalks on Highway 12 at the end of Spain for people. They're pedestrians. It's all dirt. And so people are shunting through the neighborhoods. I mean, it's a lot bigger project and a lot bigger issue. And although I do support that one intersection, if you kind of stand back and look at the bigger issue, there's a lot of problems down at that end of town. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just want want to say real quick, I had in my notes here, there have been 3 significant accidents at the 7th and Napa. I actually asked for the sheriff's records, and I don't know if any of you are aware, there's a very significant accident on October 7th at that intersection. Glass all over, a car aside, two vehicles that were completely totaled right there. So just to add to that, and the others were in 2023 and 2024, but the way you get the sheriff's report is that they can't give you much information about the actual accident other than to give you the names of the responding officers. Not sure why, but privacy, I guess.
Hi, my name is Bonnie Andres, Andres, and I live in Sonoma Creek across from Cotter also. I just want to say that with all of this that's been presented, can't you do something to bypass or to cut the red tape to get this thing going instead of a year from now after somebody gets killed? Will it take that much before anything is done? I just want to put a little emphasis on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more public comment regarding this item? I will kick it back to the committee. I know I have a couple things, but go ahead. Mark?
First of all, the gentleman in the back, on behalf of the current Traffic Safety Committee, I'd like to apologize to you for the letter that you received in response to your traffic hazard reporting. I would like to think, and I can probably speak for everybody on the committee now, we are trying to do a very good job, take all the traffic hazard reporting forms seriously, and we've done a number of things procedurally and just in how we conduct business to improve everyone's experience and make sure we're getting the appropriate feedback from the community. So just know that we are taking all the traffic hazard reporting forms seriously, and I apologize that you had that experience in 2016. As far as this topic, I would agree with just about everything that was said during the public comment. The Hawk systems have driven me nuts since their installation, and I know we've spoken about it at other meetings. I know I've requested for the delay to be removed or lessened because by the time that the light turns red, the pedestrian's already crossed in the cases where the cars have yielded for them, and then it just becomes a standoff between the car and the pedestrian. The pedestrian goes against the stop hand. But I think that at minimum, I don't know how long it would take to get approval from Caltrans for an RRFB, but I think at the very minimum, this warrants it. I work for the fire department here in town, and I work at Station 1, who responds to that intersection. I would say that that is probably consistently the most frequent intersection that I go to traffic collisions at, including the one on October 7th, which she referenced. So I see it firsthand. And I live in the general area. So definitely think that there's quite a bit of validity to the concern of the community here on the intersection. I don't know how the rest of the committee feels, but I think it might not be bad to try and put together an ad hoc for this and just try and work with Public Works and Caltrans to see what kind of solutions we can come up with.
I have to say something because I'm the one that really hates the red tape. Drives me crazy, as they know. And if it were me, I'd get a bucket of black paint, cover up that white over there at Benjamin Moore and just paint white and do something on our side. But I mean, we have that thing over on Second Street, I think it is, where they have the light, you press the button when someone wants to cross, it lights up. Cause you know, it's all about, we don't wanna put a stoplight, I think, because that's too abrupt. Want to keep traffic moving. I understand the safety. I was out there last week and I had my hat on, my hair was all scraggly. I had my cane with me and I'm trying to cross and I'm like an old man. Same thing. It was like, good luck. Now I get mad and then I step in front of somebody and I make them stop. You know, then I can cause an accident, but what are you going to do? And I can see the point where you don't want to cross that street. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I don't know if there's something that could be done soon, like those lights or something, like, you know. I mean, I know we can have an ad hoc committee and do something, but can we say like something, I always want to put a date on something, not like 26, 27, 3 months, 2 months.
Well, can I intervene for 1 second? I think
Absolutely.
for everyone here, your voices are heard, like very loud and clear, and it is an issue. I have young children. I walk that area. I get it. The more signatures that you can get helps create a bigger case. So right now we have 2 separate instances, and the more data that we have, I think would help. And then they also just mentioned that they're meeting with Caltrans next month. So I think we could probably have an ad hoc. Oh, this month. Okay, so sorry, I heard next month. Okay, so it's happening. I think we can table it if you feel that we need an ad hoc, but I get the sense that you guys are on it and hear the urgency behind it. Am I right with that?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, we could set up an ad hoc. We're gonna go down and talk to Caltrans about this and other issues this month when we have our meeting with them. So basically, we could always have an ad hoc, but at that meeting, like I said, my plan is to, in terms of this intersection, this wasn't necessarily on the radar, it's on the radar now. And I could have the traffic engineer come up with some conceptual drawings. And we installed 4 RFBs in Caltrans right away as part of the Broadway restriping project. So it's not something that can't be done, it's something that can be done. And so we could set up an ad hoc. However, we may not need it.
Do you think that the more signatures would be better before the meeting or no?
I think it's always good to have signatures. Yeah, because basically that represents a big part of the community, and I think that's going to speak volumes.
What's the date of the meeting? So we know.
It's November 18th, but it's not a public, just to be clear,
But I mean, they
it's
need
not a
the
public
signatures
meeting.
by a date to you.
Yes, yeah.
So November 18th.
Yes, November 18th. So if, we can take the petition down to them if we get the petition with the signatures no later than, the 17th, end of day.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, just fill out a reporting form online again?
What I would recommend at this one is maybe not fill out an entire new traffic hazard reporting form, because then we're gonna have to go ahead and revisit this. But if either one of the signers who or people that filled out the either 15 or 16 get the petition and attach it to this existing traffic hazard reporting form, and we can take them to Caltrans. Because I think at this point, if we were to start a new traffic hazard reporting form, we would revisit this in February, which not necessarily a bad thing, but we're going to keep this open anyway. So then we'll have 3.
Perfect. Thank you.
You could email it to me or publicworks@sonomacity.org, and this happens periodically where people will add more signatures to a traffic hazard reporting form. So this isn't an unusual situation. You can you do it online, or you could just get a piece of paper and put names. You can look on the form and see the information we need, like name, phone number, email address is really important, and get all those, and then just send it over to me, and I will add it to the one we have. At sonomacity.org.
The traffic hazard reporting form that we received for the 3rd Street West and West Main Street, which is where we installed the rectangular rapid flashing beacons, had something very similar. And that was just, basically an Excel spreadsheet. They printed out, or created a chart on Word doc and just had a bunch of people fill it out. So you're not necessarily constrained to the 4 or 5 that are on the traffic hazard reporting form.
Mike, can I just clarify one thing? You said in order to have RFBs there at the city level, we would not need an ad hoc, or we don't need to involve Caltrans. Or
No,
do.
we have to involve Caltrans. We don't necessarily need an ad hoc. I'm not
Okay.
sure exactly what the ad hoc would do at this
Gotcha.
point. If the committee wanted to reserve the right to have one, you could kind of set it up tonight so that we had the ability to have one by vote, and then we could proceed with that before the next meeting. I just don't know what we task them with at this point.
Yeah, I think I would like, because I know where everybody's in this room. I'd say largely we're all on the same page and largely in agreement. I think I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. I think something that'd be worthwhile for the community to do is look at the process see if there's a process through Caltrans as well, and get everybody together, because Caltrans having our form was great, and having that form go to Public Works before the meeting on the 18th is good. But there might be a larger thing that we could do as a city, as a community, that we can go through Caltrans, get more signatures, not just the people who live, in this neighborhood. So maybe it's worthwhile someone kind of spearheading that and looking over how we can approach Caltrans as well. Also in that meeting, I would encourage the Public Works to talk to Caltrans and say, what else can the community do, so we can also report back, because I know this is an urgent matter, but I don't think it's going to get done in the next couple weeks. So I think it's going to require a little work on everybody's behalf, which is get the group together, see what the state can do, and also in the meantime, Public Works can ask what else the community can do in terms of dealing with the state. And then if we do have the signatures of the traffic hazard reporting form that we can give to Public Works before the meeting, that'd be great. But I think this is going to be kind of a longer term solution here. And then as a committee, I would say that, yeah, if we can get some RFBs in there for crossing, I think that's a good start for that intersection.
Director Berger, on the Broadway RFBs, how long was the approval process for Caltrans?
Once we understood what the scope of the work was, and we're really refined on what needed to get done, and Caltrans was an approval, that probably was 2 to 3 months, because we have to get a Caltrans encroachment permit in order to put them in. We have to get full plans and specs of the job that we're building on their right of way. And then we got delayed by winter. These things, each one of these costs, not including labor, about $15,000 to install. And so the bottom line here is, and this would be double, because I think we'd be putting it in on all 4 corners, similar to Spain Street, not like we have at Train Town, where it's just one. And so it's going to be in upwards of $30,000 to do this. These are 6 foot deep, 2.5 foot diameter holes with rebar cages. And when you try doing those in the middle of winter, they're full of water. So the first one that we tried at Train Town, we had to fill it up with 2 sacks slurry, top it off, and come back 4 months later and do it after the water table had dropped down again. So it's quite a project, and it involves a pretty big drill bit and the right timing. And so us getting right into winter right now, probably not even an option until spring. But basically, we'll see how Mother Nature starts off here. And I can't, I'm not saying we can't do anything, but when we tried doing our first one at Train Town, we got seriously watered out. Yeah, so.
Okay, but my thought with the ad hoc is, or we could potentially, if we wanted to take some action tonight, is I'm thinking this out as, okay, if we meet in February and then you're at least 3 months out to get approval from Caltrans, if we were to take some action in February, then we might be looking at May or June for actually some measurable progress.
Yeah,
So-
but
that's
Oh,
why I
go
just
ahead.
wanted to see if, if you guys, test it out, get a feel for where Caltrans is at on the 18th, and you guys were able to report to the ad hoc of what the outcome of the conversation was, how it felt, then maybe we could, have something, something to get some progress going.
Yeah, and if Caltrans is open to the idea, we could start the encroachment permit process and the design process. And we don't need the ad hoc to do that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so I think there's enough consensus here tonight that there's a problem. We have to, number one, we have to talk to the chief of police. Number two, we have to start logging all the calls. How many calls were there actual, work with the chief of police on that. And then basically work with the city manager and work with the traffic engineer, come up with the design and see just how well this whole concept's going to stick here in addition to working with Caltrans. Yeah, and then we also have to come up with the budget. So, which isn't, none of these are insurmountable, but just trying to figure out where the ad hoc fits into that. And like I said, if the committee feels like giving themselves the ability to set up an ad hoc, and then the option would be to activate that anytime between now and February, we can do that tonight.
I was just gonna add that the 3rd Street West project went very quickly. I think from what I remember, because I was in communication with these two via email, wondering when these were gonna go in, because it was an issue. The one thing that did hold up was product coming in. Like there were some shipping delays, so that's another thing to consider too. That held them up a couple weeks almost, if I can remember correctly.
And that was Napa at 3rd?
No, that was Spain and 3rd. So we didn't have the Caltrans loop. So, I mean, when we're installing stuff in our right of way, we don't have to get any approval. And we can, additionally, Caltrans has a different standard, right, Mike, for installing. That is a bit more labor intensive than what we were able to do. And part of that was actually adopting our own standard for installing one of these, which made it faster. So, that's unfortunately not a great benchmark for how quickly we can put this in, because it's just not our right of way. And that's kind of the crux of the issue, is that we can work with Caltrans, we can get the project approved, in terms of what Mike was saying, getting the encroachment permit, working with them through design. And then the other hiccup is always, this is not a budgeted capital improvement project. And so looking at our budget and figuring out where that's at, depending on how long it takes to work with Caltrans, it might make more sense. We don't know this now, but just throwing this out there, it might make more sense to wait until budget adoption, where we have all the money, work through the design, on our general engineering task orders, get everything teed up and ready to go, and wait until the construction when we have an adopted budget, because $30,000, depending on, because we also have multiple other paving projects that are going this year. So, absolutely hearing what the community is saying, understanding that, just kind of lining out what that could possibly look like from a fiscal point of view.
Thank you.
Yeah, and here again, just as far as I'm concerned, coming up with the concept and the planning studies is a big hurdle, and we're queued up to start working on that right away. And so that's what we're going to emphasize on, and we're going to get that moving and see what we can come up with. One of the problems with installing these things, like I said, it's a 30-inch diameter hole, 6 feet deep. Every utility that's around there is going to be an issue. And so you have to configure them in such a way. We ended up moving a number of these at least once so that we could fit that huge hole in between utilities. We relocated a live fiber optic line on the west side of the train town crossing to accommodate this thing. It's a really big hole. There's a lot of utilities out there, and it takes some engineering to try to find the right spot. And then obviously relocating utilities is an option too. Yeah, so it's not just go out, drill a hole, put the thing in the ground and turn it on. Although, Mark, I like your white paint concept, and we'll talk more about that later. But basically, there's a lot to these things. Like what Commissioner Wyrick was saying, is that when you have the smaller ones, like we did up at Spain Street, it could be fast-tracked. And like Ashley said, we developed our own standard for that so that we could drill a much smaller hole, a lot less deep, and not have the conflict with all the different utilities. And there's a bunch of them: gas, electric, communications. They're all out there: water, sewer, storm, and we have to fit them inside of all these. So the concept plan, though, is what we can get started on right away, and we're queued up to do that.
All right, I think just to kind of put a bow on this, is it sounds like there's a lot of things in the works, and that Public Works is obviously very aware of this. Just the last thing I think of is if we do need an ad hoc, I'm okay either way. We could do an ad hoc if needed, and that way we don't have to meet. But if something does come up that we could discuss, we'll obviously be in contact. I'm definitely open to that. In the meantime, it sounds like everybody has a little bit of work to do on this one, and it sounds like everybody's ready to work on this.
Yeah, I think that establishing an ad hoc as needed, or we can activate it if needed, would be beneficial, because if an ad hoc can have some kind of an answer as to what things are looking like in January, then maybe it'll help expedite the process at a meeting like this, where we don't have to get into a huge discussion about things, where the ad hoc can kind of have a concise report as to where we're at, and all the back and forth between Caltrans and the Public Works and the traffic engineers can be done ahead of the meeting, and might kind of expedite things.
I think you're right, Mark, because the ad hoc will give value and backing, community backing, when Mike presents it to Caltrans. If he says, hey, we got an ad hoc backing this, they'll listen with 2 ears instead of one.
Okay. With that, I'll motion, if there's no issues, motion to create an ad hoc for the 7th West and West Napa intersection.
You don't need to do a motion. You
Okay.
can just choose to volunteer.
All right, well,
Perfect.
I already
Thank you.
see
I
two,
knew that. I was
there's 2 volunteers
testing
to my
you.
right now.
All right.
Looks like we got our ad hoc.
Jay, you in?
I'll do it.
All right.
Absolutely.
Shelby, you or? No. I'll do it. Oh, I volunteered Mark and Jay.
Yeah, just a reminder, maximum of 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do it, or Mark. If anybody else has any interest?
Sure, I will. I can do it.
Jay offered as well.
There we go. 3.
Okay.
There you go. Done. Okay, I think we can close this item on the agenda for now, with a lot of work to be done.
Okay, just to clarify, make sure. So we have Mark, Jay, and Shelby.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, we've been going at this for 2 hours strong. How's everybody doing? Do we need to keep going? Okay, Shelby is.
Sorry.
Luckily, we
I
have
have
a
kids.
light-
I gotta get home too.
Luckily,
So
we
I
have a
know.
light agenda. We only have 2 items, so we're
Okay.
almost done with this one. Well, I know. Well, this is technically
This is
21
one item.
Yeah, this is still the one item. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move on to item number 17, which seems like we just went over this one, but.
Right. This is 5th Street West and West Main Street, excessive speed and failure to stop late at night. No general request.
PD.
That sounds like a PD, and I think we kind of discussed this when we were at, was that item number 11? I think we kind of covered this one.
We'll put that on the list.
Yeah.
And I think you just need to ask for public comment.
I was just about, is there any public comment on item 17? Seeing none, I think we can move on from this one. Go to number 18.
This is for 5th Street West and Andrix. Stop sign is blocked by vegetation. Cars don't stop, and the request is to cut vegetation.
Which stop sign?
I think it's where the flashy one is. That's the only one that.
I didn't
because I looked at it.
Okay.
Probably in front of is that Dr. Irish office? That tree overhangs.
They were saying
quite
a stop
bit.
sign.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah, just yeah. So if you're,
So the
it would be
northwest
southbound
No, I know what you're
5th at Andrix.
I was thinking it was the intersection, and that's where I looked. I didn't think of coming towards it.
Got it. Yeah. So Public Works, can we add that to your list to reach out like you did with MacArthur?
Just knock on the door, Mike. Bring your hedge clippers.
Get out your chainsaw. Yeah.
Is there any public comment regarding the stop sign being blocked at 5th and Andrew Street? Not, I say Andrew. I've been in this town longer than you have. I don't know.
Moving on.
Let's move on to number 19, 5th Street West.
18?
Did I say, what did I say? No, we just did 18.
Right, so we're on
So
number
on
19
19.
now. So this is 5th Street West, south of West MacArthur, speeding, request a speed indicator sign.
That's already part of what we've talked about.
Yeah. Is there public comment on item number 19? Seeing none, I think we can move on to item number 20, Pickett Street.
This complaint was Pickett Street between Cooper and Clay Street, speeding, and the complaint was speeding. The request was signage, speed bumps, and possibly a chicane.
Does the committee have anything on this one?
Oh, and then just quick note on this one. No, that's a good note. Cathy just reminded me, I forgot to put in the notes that Pickett Street is part of our upcoming paving project. This is one of the paving projects I was referencing when we were talking about the funding for the 7th Street West RRFB. We are paving Friar, Pickett, and Nash Street, and so Pickett, that entire L of Pickett is going to be ground out and overlaid, hopefully in spring 2026.
Okay. Is there anything else being added to it outside of just repaving and more marking? Any?
It's currently just a grind and overlay because I don't believe there's any current striping out there, so we don't have striping included in. Well, we do have striping because there's striping on Friar Creek, which is the grind and overlay starts from Friar Creek at Newcomb and goes down to the stop sign at Clay Street, and then all of Nash and all of Pickett. Nash runs between Pickett and Clay.
Okay. I don't have anything. I do like the recommendation of enforcement first. This kicking it back to the police department, but I don't think that, I don't know if Pickett Street qualifies for speed surveys or.
We could possibly set up speed surveys. We have not set up speed surveys right now. Our hot spots are Spain Street and West MacArthur. So this location has not been previously identified for speed surveys, but we could do that in the first step of working through our neighborhood traffic calming manual is setting up some potential speed surveys.
Yeah, I mean, I like the enforcement, just having PD there and consider it for a speed survey. And just keep it open.
Is the thought that people are trying to avoid the speed bumps on Clay? Is that why they're utilizing Pickett? I'm just trying to figure out what the cause of, like, Pickett, in my mind, wouldn't be a well-traveled street.
Yeah.
I think he's concerned with it being faster when it's smoother, because you know how rough that is there, and it's around a corner, and it's kind of a tight corner, and I believe that was part of his concern their concern with that.
So once the project is complete, the
Correct.
concern is that it will increase even more.
Yes.
Got it.
Is there any public comment regarding Pickett Street? Not seeing any. Back to the committee. I think we can move on to item number 21.
So just to be clear, 20 is to go to PD first and just kind of keep it on the back burner for possible speed surveys.
Exactly.
Okay. And then 21, our final one, this is for 1st Street West, West Main Street, to the police department. Reports of, we're complaining of excessive speeding, requesting speed bumps, raised crosswalks, signage and signal beacons, and then just some background here that I also forgot to put in my notes. This intersection, not intersection, but the crossing for the bike path at First Street West is included as a base bid for Go Sonoma, meaning it is going to be included. It's not a bid alternate. And so those, that crosswalk will be updated and rectangular rapid flashing beacons will be installed.
Thank you.
I have a concern. I mean, that's where the sheriffs respond to calls for service. I don't think they should put any kind of raised, any kind of calming measures in that street at all. They need to respond code 2, code 3 to calls for service. So I want to voice that I have some concerns about that.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I know Chief
Yeah.
Cutting did reach out to the applicant and wanted to have a conversation with her. So I believe there's some back and forth going on with that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think one of the specific complaints in the reporting form was the deputy speeding. But that was one of the concerns. Right, exactly.
For a good
So,
cause.
right.
I think you have enough emergency workers on this panel here that we would agree that we probably don't want speed bumps outside of police stations and firehouses. Did I already ask for public comment on this one? Is there any public comment on this one? I don't see any. We can close this one out. And I think we're done with item 4.1.
Congratulations, guys. You made it. Okay, so we're done with all of these. So then we'll go to the next item. This is the last item. It hopefully should be pretty quick. It's really just getting your input. Hold on. Let me scroll to read through these again. This is the first item, right? Oh, I have to scroll through. No. Isn't it? I was just wanted to.
Keep going.
I just want to hit.
There.
There we go.
Got it.
There we go.
First one though, isn't it?
Oh my god. No, this is the right one. Okay. Okay. So the intention of this particular agenda item, this is our first traffic safety committee meeting with the online traffic hazard reporting form. With this new format, we wanted to check in to see if you wanted to make any changes to the traffic hazard reporting form as it currently is. And I have attached what that looks like here. And one of the things that I just wanted to highlight is that we did have what felt like a decent amount of duplicates tonight, things that were kind of highlighting very similar things. The current traffic hazard reporting form does not make the petition mandatory. So all traffic hazard report, currently the process is all traffic hazard reporting forms that come in are reviewed by traffic safety regardless of number of signatures or anything like that. So I just want to highlight that's the way it currently works for traffic hazard reporting forms that are submitted. And all are pretty much given the same, for the most part, the same level of review because we had so many this time. The ones that had petitions were given some additional engineering hours, and the ones that were single signers, we used our discretion and Public Works reviewed them. We're not planning on changing the workflow in terms of having PD review all or get copied on all of them because a lot of them are enforcement related as well. So this is just kind of an item after you've sat through 21 traffic hazard reporting forms if you would like to make any changes at this time, which can be implemented after this meeting if you'd like. One of my suggestions, just given the overlap of all the different traffic hazard reporting forms, would be to make the petitions mandatory and attach a number to it. That's something I did see was pretty common. This petition format is very common part of the neighborhood traffic calming programs, and I evaluated several when we found Millbrae, which was the kind of our seed document for our now adopted neighborhood traffic calming plan. And quite a few of these were, I can go back and look at my analysis, but a lot of these petitions were required in order for them to receive a full review.
Who gets that tracking number? The complainant as well? The person making the complaint?
Tracking number.
Well, if you give it a number, you refer to it.
Oh, no, I'm talking about a number of petitions, number of people signing, saying,
Signatories.
yeah, number of people that are saying that this is a neighborhood-wide issue. And so that was a hallmark that I saw on multiple different programs that are being operated throughout the state. We don't currently have that.
So just to be clear, any form that comes in will be reviewed by Public Works on some level, but anything that would require our review would have to meet a certain threshold.
Yes, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think of like half of the comments were stuff that you had already addressed, but we had to go through it, had to have public comment. But you've also had conversation with PD, so.
Yeah,
I mean,
just
if
to be
it's
clear,
I think if it's one comment, and this is the first that we've heard about it, obviously it's important, but I think there should be a little bit more structure and more complaints to get it to the point where we're actually having a thorough conversation here and being impactful with our time.
yeah, and it's possible that they could be divided into two groups. One that meet a certain threshold as far as signatures, and the other that is put into a different spreadsheet that isn't agendized, that is brought to your attention as part of like a second tier that you could review. And if you wanted to elevate some of those up, say we get 15 in any quarter, and then 3 that have 20 signatures. The 3 with 20 signatures could be part of the agenda. We could basically be prepared to discuss them. The other 15, if you had a question on one of them or you thought something warranted bringing it up, we could discuss further. And then also, they automatically go to PD now as part of the automated process. So police department sees all of them because we just didn't want to be involved in any slowdown on that. And so they automatically got sent there. Yeah, and so there's a couple of different options to consider.
Yeah, I mean, I like to have the ability to review everything that's coming in, because even if it's just one, I'd still like to look at it just so it's on the radar, and then, yeah, it would just have to be a certain threshold for a full committee review, unless someone said, hey, I'd like to add this to the agenda.
So you're proposing like an additional consent item. So that's what
basically
what I'm
yes,
hearing. And
yes.
so consent is very similar to the meeting minutes, where we wouldn't necessarily discuss, but it could function similar to, council meeting, where sometimes council members might have additional questions on consent items and pull it and make it part of the regular agenda meeting. So we could do that, and we could, basically, I think what might be helpful if you want to do it that way is maybe attaching to our neighborhood traffic calming program a flow chart of how they're going to be reviewed, and making it clear that, single signer ones will be sent to traffic safety for review, but won't be, fully reviewed by traffic safety unless they have additional questions.
Yeah, I'd be on board with that one. My only question is, what do the other cities do in terms of what the threshold is for?
I can go back and look. I think the pretty common number was 3.
Okay.
So a petition with 3 or more was evaluated for traffic calming elements.
Okay.
I just have one. Oh, go ahead.
My only concern is if the people that do it and just have one signature, I doubt they're looking at our traffic calming handbook.
And
That was
that's
my thought too.
That is probably very true. They're not necessarily tied to the same, even though these documents feed into each other. The traffic hazard reporting form existed before the neighborhood traffic calming program. And we've implemented the traffic hazard reporting form as part of our neighborhood traffic calming program. So that's, in terms of the chicken and egg, the traffic hazard reporting form that existed first. But
is it worth adding something on the top of the form that says, please consult
yeah,
the handbook first?
Well, what we can do is we can talk to our public information officer and ask that graphic just be added to the website.
Yeah.
So everyone just putting in a traffic hazard, and maybe that's more efficient than, that's a good suggestion, Cathy, than putting it in the neighborhood traffic calming manual. And they could be at both places. I mean, if you're going to make a document or a graphic, you slap it one place, put it in another, it's totally fine. This is a reminder, the neighborhood traffic calming program is not been adopted by council to make changes like this, as we see fit.
2 questions. I'm just thinking about efficiency, like for someone who's not familiar with how to do this at all. I get people asking me questions all the time, like, I have a complaint. I'm like, we'll go online. Can we put, like, this is a great PDF that they could fill out. Could you do, before they're even prompted to fill this out, they have a PDF of the calming instead of doing just a snippet, like you have to view it and then add a proposed component in here after reviewing it?
You mean making it a requirement for everyone to review the neighborhood traffic calming in order to, so.
Because that's a cultural shift, right? Like, people are not used to doing this, and so it's gonna take.
What we have done as part of this implementation process is basically putting a signature box saying, like, we understand that this, because we kind of knew at the beginning this could possibly be an issue with a lot of single signer submissions. And again, like I said at the very beginning, I think timing was huge on this, where we had just adopted the neighborhood traffic calming program at the August meeting. Kids went back to school August 15th. And so, you have this influx of people that have, not been driving the same route because school's been off, and they're all of a sudden the traffic kind of comes at you at the same time. So we don't necessarily anticipate another 21 at this upcoming meeting, but anticipating that being an issue, we did ask our PIO to install a box saying, we understand this, and everyone did it regardless. So we could do it. I think people are going to click the box and say they acknowledge it without reading it, but I think that's definitely something that we can add in just to say, well, you said you did. You said you did it. So, and there will capture people who would not read it. Absolutely. So there is some benefit.
He just said that's why 3 complaints would be good. Sorry, speaking on your behalf. Sorry, I have
Just
one
for the
last
folks
question.
online.
I know everyone's tired. Is there, if we are transitioning from going from 1 comment to 3, right? Is there do you guys have an internal tracking of, like, if you get a comment from 6 months ago and it was only 1 and then you get 1 again to cross-reference?
Well, they tend to get, what we haven't had, unless you have like a significant, like items like the St. Francis RRFB, the 7th Street West Napa, we don't get a whole lot of recurrent comments, what Cathy's point. So if people submit the neighborhood traffic calming form, there's usually not a whole lot of amendments. And people that do usually want them, quote unquote, resubmitted, in which case we can bring it back. But they're not usually attaching significant amount of petitions after the fact, unless they have, kind of been directed or have some kind of motive to go out and get those signatures, as we saw tonight. So I don't think it would be that much of an issue. It might be like a one-off that it happens. And just given my history, my short history here, I think it probably would be something that we would already be working on, because it's drummed up a lot of public attention.
Couple quick questions. We will still be accepting paper forms as well. Okay. I just don't want to preclude anybody who's not able to use technology or
No, absolutely.
whatever from participating.
The one that we got on the 7th Street West with the 20 signatures was written out in paper, and we accepted
Perfect.
that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think maybe what just looking at the form, I think if on number 4 there we make, if we can decide as a committee if we want to go with 3 or 5 as the threshold to be able to review it officially, I think I'm definitely in support of multiple if it becomes on the official, but I do like the idea of the consent item. Then we could look at that, briefly, whether it be when the agenda packet comes out before the meeting or whatever, and if there's something that we think needs to be pulled, then we can do that. But having it clearly state in number 4 on the form, if you do not have X number, whatever we decide tonight, yours will not be reviewed officially at the meeting.
The PIO did add something, just so you guys are aware, that the more signatures you have, the more weight.
Yeah.
I mean, I might have my wording incorrect, but she did do that after August, when we had the onslaught and we were getting multiples a day.
Yeah.
So she did put some effort into putting that out there, but that didn't seem to change what was happening very much.
Yeah, I just think making it very clear on the form, so that, because that's probably what they're paying a little more attention to. People don't really like instructions or reading long things or anything like that. So it might be, myself included, I'm no judgment for anyone out there, but
And then also just one quick clarifying point. So this is the form, the PDF form. When you're filling out the form online, it looks a little bit different. And what Cathy was saying is like super bold, like right up there. Because we were like, this is going to help. And it didn't, but that's okay.
Okay, yeah, and then maybe just something, you know, I'll look at them side by side. I haven't looked at the online format, but I think we should try to make it mirror as much as possible. So like the text be exactly the same as far as, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, all that, and then just fill boxes should really be the only difference.
You can actually pull that up real quick.
Can I ask a question on the fillable form? Is it, if I filled this out online and I wanted to get 3 signatures, am I able to email the signatures and do like a DocuSign type thing, or do I have to
You
now?
actually don't even have to do that. You just have to fill out.
Just fill out the
people's
names.
See, it says contact one, she's pulling it
Oh,
up.
okay, gotcha.
Sorry.
So this would just change, it would not say optional but encourage, it would say mandatory for full traffic safety review. And we can add in that, 5 signatures, through whatever you guys decide, 3, 5 signatures are required, and explain what will happen if you submit one, which, basically turns
Yeah.
into.
I think, yeah, just clearly state that, please note items receiving 5 or more signatures, will be agendized. Anything less than that will be part of the consent calendar and will not receive a full public review.
Sure.
There's another spot where I believe further down where it says you can upload any files, like if you get more signatures, whether they're on a piece of binder paper or however you choose to do it, that can be uploaded with that form.
Okay.
Yep. So this is very similar, kind of walks through everything. And then, does it note our neighborhood traffic calming? It might, before you begin. We'll have to add that in.
I would just say that whatever number we decide to land on, there should be the same number of contacts in the box. So if we say 3, and I think there's 3 in there right now, but if we said 4 or 5, there would have to be 4 or 5 contacts.
There's the traffic calming handbook on the streets page, and right below it is submit a traffic hazard report. And there's the PAO's note on the second paragraph there. While anyone can submit a report including names, et cetera, this information is not required, but stronger community support will be considered during the review process. We're already trying to promote that, but making it a rule is going to get better results.
And also, in terms of how many you review, just in terms of just taking a look at this particular traffic safety committee meeting, instead of reviewing 21, you would have reviewed 4. So just so you have an idea on, yeah.
Thank you, guys and gals.
Yes, thank you. I think let's say the last thing would be that we just kind of have to land on a number for right now, which we can always change too. So if 3's the norm,
Should we start at 3 and then see at the next meeting if we
it's got 5 on there.
get a bunch?
I think 5.
5?
I was kind of thinking 5 too, but yeah. 4. How about 4?
5.
So, it's good. More than 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could get, if we did 3, you could get 3 in one household.
Yeah.
Or a couple and a buddy, and then it's easy. But
I would say 5.
yeah,
Let's start with 5, and if we need to adjust it, we can.
I like it.
Sounds good.
So can you clarify, 5 would allow you to be agendized?
Yep.
Okay.
But they're still going to review. All of them will be included with the packet. So kind of, I don't know if you guys have looked at any kind of recent city council, right? So that your consent calendar goes first. You see all of that. So all of them will be included. You can read through all of them, but we're not necessarily going to make them an agenda item, meaning, you don't have any comments on the consent calendar. We close it out, and it's not open for public comment unless you guys decide to open it or pull that. and then anything with 5 or more signatures would be treated like a regular item, and would have its own time in the sun.
That's perfect.
And then just from the public works perspective, with those that don't get them, kind of along the lines of what Shelby was asking earlier, are we archiving them, or what, for the ones that end up on the consent calendar and just get reviewed and we decide not to do anything with at that time, would those just kind of be in hopper, like on deck, or would they go away unless they were resubmitted?
I think it would probably be cleaner for them to be closed out, and then if there was another issue, I mean, we could always note, like if there are overlaps, we can note that we got one here. I don't quite know how that would work.
Well, and another thing too is that when these come in, they automatically go to the police department. So Brandon could go out, chief of police could go out, and he could actually interview the person that did it, conclude it, and not get back to us. Yeah, and we can refine that process as we move forward, and basically have quarterly meetings with PD, or get them to summarize what the status was of each one. But as far as the traffic safety committee is concerned, I think that they're going to be closed out.
Awesome, sounds good.
Mike, are you saying you want Brandon to go out on every small, Chief Cutting to go out on every small complaint?
No, he's going to evaluate each one. Yes, requested it. He wants to be right there at the grassroots level on this. Yeah.
The only other thing I had regarding these, and I know that Cathy or Ashley will reach out to Adam and I pre-meeting, but if we do end up with, if we say, hey, 5 is what it takes to be reviewed, and for some reason we get 20 that have 5 or more, I would ask that you guys can group them ahead of time, so that we can cover those as one item, just because like the procedural steps of going to the committee, going to public comment, and coming back to the committee just eats up a little bit of time. So if it's geographically within, called the sphere of influence of one another, maybe we could group them together and just kind of help expedite things a bit.
So we have a motion, I believe, but we need somebody to make it and second it.
I will
And then
make
I'm
the
ready
motion.
to count it.
All right, Shelby, go.
I make the motion.
I second it.
Okay.
For the new reporting form protocols.
Vice Chair Branconi,
Aye.
Committee Member Demeno,
Aye.
Youth Member Mansfield,
Aye.
Committee Member Newman,
Aye.
Committee Member Wyrick,
Aye.
Chair Lobsinger.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay. We're gonna close that item out, so we're on the home stretch here. Are there any reports or comments from the committee? Not seeing any. Are there any staff comments or announcements? Does police have anything? Come on, you've been here all night. You gotta have something to say. Let's go. Let's go. Who wants to 70?
I actually have a question. I know with Deputy Miller and Deputy Foyles both not in the area anymore, we were without a traffic officer. Is there anybody filling that role?
Yes, I'm the new traffic deputy for Sonoma PD. Yeah.
Sorry, didn't want to make you get on the mic.
Good evening. I am Deputy Vasquez. I am the new traffic deputy for Sonoma PD. I've been there for almost a month now. So, yeah.
Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Any other
Welcome.
questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else from the staff?
So just a quick capital projects update. So West Spain Street is going to go to construction, and that is the isolated dig out and repairs from First Street West up to Second Street West on West Spain Street, as well as an area from Unibro Sarah up to Highway 12. And then also Second Street West to Third Street West is going to get a full granite overlay as well as some dig out repairs. And so that is scheduled to happen on November 10th, I think is their first working day. Actual breakout construction right now, they're doing dig out markouts. They're kind of doing some prep work this week. And so that's with that. And then on the 3rd Street West Bike Boulevard, we took that to the Technical Advisory Committee and the Citizens Advisory Committee meeting, and that is expected to go to SDTCA board for full approval in December. And so we are going to get working on that ASAP. And then, yeah, Friar Pickett and Nash is also going to get paved in the spring. So we have a lot of paving projects going.
Great, that's what I like to hear. Anything else? Adjourned.